I love that. Dude, that was like an out-of-body experience, just cussing because, like, what else is there to say? As you're listening to him talk, you're shaking your head, too, and you just look at me and you said, how?
Because it just...
I'm with you.
Remember what the Cavs looked like midseason?
Yeah.
They were a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And you look at the East, you know, and this was the year that he could get this team through because Toronto, just clearly they shrink.
Yep.
And those other teams weren't ready. Boston, Philly, they're not ready yet, and Boston missing some guys. And for LeBron James to be able to navigate those three teams, Indiana, Toronto, and this team, with what he has
and also what he didn't have. And this one he didn't have love. And we'll get to LeBron.
Yep.
You told me, and on the 6 o'clock Sports Center tonight, you said two people got to get 30 points, and he got 31. You're smart.
I didn't know it would be that close to it, but that for me is what it comes down to. And I don't know who it's going to be, but that means that
it doesn't matter.
It means that two guys played really well offensively, at least well enough. Last game, it was Hill and Green got 34. Tonight, it was Green and J.R. Smith. They get 31. And it's the greatness of LeBron. It creates this stuff. But for me, this is one of my favorite touchscreens of the year because it demonstrates the way Cleveland operated offense. Now, first, I'm not a big believer in switching Terry Rozier onto George Hill. But in this case, you don't have a choice because of where the screen is set. Now, he's going to turn the corner, get to the rim. So I don't mind the switch as much here. So you're going to get the switch. Watch what happens after the switch. And this is what gets J.R. Smith going in the second half at the key time they need him. Freeze it right here. So here comes Rozier in the post, right? Here comes, they're going to double from the baseline. Now, what that allows LeBron to do is see everything over here. Now, here's what's going to happen. He's looking at the weak side of the floor, and he is saying, I'm going to either go here or I'm going to go here. And the guy on top is Al Horford. And your defense dictates wherever that pass goes, Al Horford is chasing. Well, LeBron James decides to go here. Al Horford does the right thing and runs out. The problem is, there's the first pass, there's the second pass, there's the second pass right here over the top. Now, there's plenty of time for Jason Tatum to make his rotation. Boston is asking Terry Rozier to double team here and sprint to this shot. There's no way you're getting there. So two quick swings, that's an impossible ask to cover that much ground. Now J.R. Smith is involved in the game. This next one's even better because this is really demonstrates how great LeBron is. You're going to get the switch here. Now, LeBron James comes off this screen. They never stop his momentum. I'm going to tell you why that's important. Al Horford switching, he needs to be out here because then he can wall him off. And if you do that, you force LeBron to veer, and now you can play the possession. But the fact that they never get this stopped, here's the chain reaction that creates. Jeff Green clears out. Marcus Morris is guarding him, and he starts to go, but then he turns around when he sees LeBron coming, and he stops his penetration here. And I'll stop it at that point. LeBron gets in the lane right there. Look what he's drawn. LeBron, the last thing he's going to see. I got two guys over here. I got JR, I got Jeff Green. This is the greatness of LeBron. How do I know who to pass it to? Well, Jaylen Brown made that decision for him when he rotates right here. That means there's one guy left, and LeBron waits till the last second to make this pass, and he hits Jeff Green in the corner, who knocks down a three. So Boston clearly, you got to load up on LeBron to a certain extent. Who was going to make shots on the weak side of the floor? Because you saw how bad it was in the first half. Jeff Green, J.R. Smith did just enough. Tristan Thompson had a pretty good game, too, but those were the two guys that were pressure release valves for LeBron James that allowed him to get enough supplemental offense, and then they counted on Boston not being ready for the moment, and they weren't, and those two guys stepped up in a huge way.
This was a gruesome game from three. 16 of 74. That is an atrocity from beyond the arc. But LeBron James, in a game that is a rock fight, is a rock star, that's what he does. And, I mean, at some point around now, you start running out of ways to frame it, but I'm going to give it back to you and ask you, what do you got from this one?
Well, one way I'll frame it is, I just told Steve this, the last time that LeBron James was not in the finals, my daughter was finishing 8th grade, and she just graduated college a few weeks ago. So what does that frame it pretty well?
Yeah.
It does for me. I mean, she played high school and college basketball her entire career.
Had a nice little
All
run.
she knows is this guy played in the NBA Finals, and this was a year so improbable. Didn't think it would happen. I was wrong. I picked Boston in this series from the beginning. Thought they were the better, more complete overall team. The one thing that trumps that is having by far the best player in the series, and that's what LeBron was. And his ability, to play through contact, to play through mental stress, and still be able to operate at a really high level, that's what it came down to. He was the difference, obviously, not only between the two teams, it's between the Cavs and any team they play. He's the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, there has to be so much game from Boston's perspective. They don't want to hear that tonight, but a young team way ahead of schedule. I don't know that you were wrong. I mean, you were wrong in what you predicted, But this Boston team, I think we're going to be talking about, as long as I'm sitting here, as long as you're sitting here, we'll be talking about that.
Scary young talent. Yeah. And again, we look at that guy that he wasn't even sitting on the bench. Kyrie, I guess, back in the locker room. But it reminds you why you need guys that can trump great defenses. And Kyrie Irving has done it on the biggest stage.
Sure.
So they missed having that difference maker. Cleveland clearly had one. Boston's got nice young talent. They're not ready. That's okay. They got here faster than we thought, and they're going to get 2 great players back next year.
Tim, appreciate the time.
Yep.
Tim framed it using his daughter's high school and college life, and on this biggest of stages yet again. I mean, look, the Celtics dominate with Russell and Jones and Heinsohn and Casey Jones as well. That era there where all they did was hang banners created the mythology and legacy that is the Celtic franchise. And there's LeBron in the modern era and the HD era and the social media era, however you want to call it, in the right now era. There's LeBron James, smack dab in the middle of legends. He's one himself. Boys, thank you. J.R. Smith's got the trophy, and he's gone. Tim Legler alongside, and Tim, we'll take a deep dive a little bit later. I told you earlier I was going to steal from Tony and Mike from PTI, and if I say to you, what's the word about Game 7? What word describes this game?
I'm going to use a word that has multiple meanings because you only give me one. So I'm going to use the word green.
Okay.
And here's what I mean by that. The Celtics were too green. The guys that you needed to come through in a big way, young players, 3 starters, 3rd year or less, 2 of those guys were abominable tonight. They couldn't make a shot. Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier. The moment was clearly a little bit too big for them. So they're a green, young team. And then green for the Cavaliers. LeBron needed someone to start making some shots to take some of the pressure off of him. Jeff Green stepped up in an enormous way to make some corner threes. JR had a pretty good second half as well. So for me, LeBron needed 2 guys to play well, and the Celtics had to have 2 guys, 2 key guys, not be abominable. They didn't get that because 2 of their main guys were really bad tonight, and it hurt them offensively.
And you and I had a, I beg your pardon for jumping on you. You and I had a conversation before this game started tonight, and I said, I just presume that LeBron will go for 40, 10 and 10 because that's what he does. And in the end, he goes for 35, 15, and 9.
Yeah.
So the amazing thing is that by his standards, this is average to almost even slightly below what was anticipated, which just speaks to how unfair the expectations are. But what did he, in your eyes, deliver?
Well, nothing he's done at this point surprises me. He's gone from a guy early in his career and early in his postseason runs that we sort of doubted, and you waited for that moment where maybe he wouldn't come through, to a guy that now you expect what you saw tonight.
Right.
Now, you knew LeBron was going to be great. Everybody else was a wild card.
I totally agree.
How are guys going to play? You kind of knew what you were going to get out of him, and you got that. And for me, it came down to the quality of your possessions when it mattered were so much greater for the Cavaliers because they have LeBron James. For the Celtics, still trying to figure this out and not having an elite scorer like a Kyrie Irving in that moment, you had some young guys trying to figure this out on the fly. The quality of their possessions the last 8 minutes of the game were just not good enough to win this game. LeBron controlled the game physically. That's what he does night in, night out. Never in a bigger moment than on the road in Game 7.
Yeah, and we'll take a deeper dive with you a little bit later. And for now, I want to welcome in Mark Jackson, who we've enjoyed on the call.